What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we have an extremely special return guest. He was a previous guest on the At the Plate podcast, which make sure y'all check that out. I got him back to discuss the other side. Since we cover mainly baseball, I figured I'd bring him back on to get into the music and other shit that's going on in the world of my guests. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Preach Jacobs, the mayor of Columbia. He's not the mayor of Columbia, but he's the mayor of Columbia. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, Preach, what's good, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing, brother?
Man, I cannot complain, man. Another day above ground, and I get to chop it up with my dog.
Yo, man, I'm excited. Hey, you the first person I thought about when the Rangers won. I immediately text you, and I was like, I know this man is jumping through the roof.
Ooh, buddy. It was funny. And what's funny is when it happened, when they got the final out, I was actually a guest on somebody else's podcast.
So, you lost it.
Yeah. Like I was just losing my shit in real time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great, man. So is that your greatest baseball experience of all time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Dog, I waited 30 years for this moment. Legit. I've been a Rangers fan since 1993. And seeing them go to the World Series in 2010 and 2011 and not get the job done, especially 2011, that one stung like a sumbitch because we were literally one strike away from being world champions.
Wow.
And it didn't happen. But we redeemed them. Well, they redeemed themselves. So
I'm excited for you, man. Like I know how that feels being a fan of a squad and finally win one. I'm an Eagles fan, so I know it's not baseball, but still seeing the Eagles win one. Because when we lost, it was funny because like we lost to Brady and the Patriots that year. We had McNabb and T.O. And so for us to come back and win when I didn't think we were going to win because we had a backup quarterback that time, I was like, dog. So that I think that was the happiest I ever been kind of in a sports situation where like my team won. So, and now my team is good again this year. So I don't know what to do. Like, you know, I'll tell you one thing before we get into it. I had this weird epiphany about the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I love Patrick Mahomes. He's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. And I'm rooting for my team, right? In any other situation, if Patrick Mahomes playing anybody in the Super Bowl, I want Patrick Mahomes to win, except when he plays the Eagles.
Yeah.
I realize I'm Spike Lee being friends with Michael Jordan. Right? So like Spike loves his Knicks and he loves Mike. And he always wants Mike to do good, except when he plays his team. So like imagine like that weird energy or whatever. So like Mahomes is like that to me. Like Mahomes is like Jordan of the sport. Beating on my team as I have this big Spike Lee poster behind me. But yeah. So it's like, so that was an observation that I had where it's like, I'm happy for Mahomes and I'm sad for my quarterback. And I hope, you know, if we have a replay of the Super Bowl, I think my squad might pull it out, but we'll see. All right. Enough sports talk. I know we had to change the subject, but I was excited to
make sure good, man.
I let you know that I was happy for you, man.
I appreciate it, man. This conversation, we can take this conversation wherever we want to take it. It's my show.
Exactly.
So we're going to take it back to the very beginning. Being that you are an MC, I want to hear from you. What were some of your earliest rap memories?
Oh my gosh. I remember the first cassette tape I ever got on my own, like outside of like having stuff like on a blank tape or something like that. I got Step in the Arena by Gangstar.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it was funny because this might have been 91. I was probably 7 years old. And my dad took me to, ironically enough, Sounds Familiar record store on Park Lane Road, which rest in peace to the owner. Pete Smolin passed away a couple months ago. After Sounds Familiar closed down, like in 2009, I was working there, and I wanted to have like a name for my record label when I want to put music out. And he gave me the name. He's like, "Do what you want." So I pay homage to Sounds Familiar record store. But the story is, my dad had just found out about the parental advisory sticker. So all the tapes that I wanted like had the sticker on it. And when I saw Gangstar and Step in the Arena and I heard of them, I was like, I want that. And there wasn't a sticker on it. So I remember I got that tape. That was the first cassette tape that was bought for me. So that's one of my earliest memories of, of course I heard hip hop before that, but like having your own tape, your own Walkman. And that's why like I was the hugest Gangstar fan, as you see a Gangstar record that's signed in the back. But like, yeah, that was my first memory. And I think Gangstar and Premier, I think Premier was probably my favorite producer for a long, long, long time. He's still up there. And I think that here's what I loved about Gangstar that hit me when Step in the Arena came out and the after that was Daily Operation. They were so serious and it just looked dope as shit to me, right? Like this is like the time like the Malcolm X movie was coming out and I'm, getting into this embracing my blackness and I grew up in a great time where being black in hip hop music, you were excited about it. You had the medallions, you was learning about your people, that type of thing. And Gangstar was just mad serious. Like they didn't take no bullshit. The beats were dark and dirty and grimy, and I used to love it. So like that was my first tape, and I think that's probably one of my earliest memories of hip hop.
Yo, so with your dad taking you to get this tape, what was your dad's initial reaction the first time he heard rap?
No, he never talked about that, right? Like the funny thing about my father, my dad, my dad is 30 years older than me, right? So if I'm 6 or 7 years old, I would think that hip hop would have been something that should have been up his alley, right? My dad taught like John Witherspoon and House Party about hip hop. You know what I mean? Like
Public Enemy.
Damn kids, like. And as I get older, I'm like, Dad, this is totally set up for you. You know what I mean? So he kind of had this anti-parental thing. And I think it was just simply because the nature of things, parents are supposed to hate the shit that the kids are into, right? Like, I don't think that he understood the bonding opportunities that could have happened with the music or given it a chance. I think he just assumed if they like it, it must not be for me. So, he lightened up over the years, but early on as a kid, it was just something he didn't want to deal with. Now, the funny shit was, I never forget, like there was this one Christmas where, my mom was like, had this agreement with my brother and I was like, yo, if y'all do good in school, this and this and that, I'll get y'all a tape that y'all want. And so I had a big MC Lyte crush. So I asked for MC Lyte's Act Like You Know tape. And when I tell you that sticker on that tape was like this big on the tape, I got that for Christmas, 1992 Christmas or 91, whatever year that came out. And my brother got Terminator X Valley of the Jeep Beats. And
wow.
those are the tapes that we got. We had it in our stocking and my mom got us both the tape, and which is hilarious because I don't think people realize or remember MC Lyte used to have the filthiest fucking mouth ever. Like if you go back to that Act Like You Know tape, it was like a tough side and a rough side. And the rough side, she was going in. And I remember one day leaving it playing on my boombox and I went outside to play basketball and I had the tape going. And my mom come in the house. My mom was like, "That's the tape I bought you?" You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So yeah. So I don't know if my mom was like singing and dancing with us, but I think that she also how Biggie's mom said it. She was kind of like, well, look, if I hear the music and they're playing it, I know they're nearby. You know what I mean? So like she really kind of embraced it in the sense of she saw the usefulness of us being involved in music where we could have been involved in some other shit that wasn't as healthy. So she embraced it pretty early on.
That's a good point. It's almost a similar situation with me as far as my parents, because the thing with my dad, he plays bass guitar, so he already had this built-in resistance to it because it was a new sound, and it was mainly coming from drum machines and stuff. And I remember like the first time he heard Run DMC, he's like, "Man, this what is this? This shit is noise. All that what is that shit?" But my mom is kind of similar to your story. She was a lot more receptive to it, so to speak. I remember she got me the Leaders of the New School tape from the flea market. Yeah. And she got me what album was it? She got me Midnight Marauders for Christmas on cassette, because you go to Walmart, they sell the clean versions of the album there. So I had my end. I was like, that's the album I want to get. She was like, okay, if you be good, Santa will put that in your stocking. And sure enough, it was there.
Oh man. So does your mom listen to any hip hop at all?
Not really. Honestly, growing up, all we really had was our musical diet was gospel music and Frankie Beverly and Maze. That's pretty much it.
That's it. Yeah.
So, but like if we went on trips and I had something in the Walkman, Mom would be like, hey, I mean, you can listen to whatever you want. Just pass the tape here. And I'll never forget, we went to go see my sister at Florida A&M, and this is a 6-hour drive to Tallahassee. And I'll tell you, the album that I played that Dad had put up no resistance with was Do You Want More? Because it was live instrumentation.
Okay, yeah.
And specifically the song Swept Away, because Leonard Hubbard, rest in peace, he had a doom. Yeah. And I mean, my dad's ears perked up like this. He's like, hey, hold on now. This rap shit is kind of all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny how our experiences were pretty similar in that regard. So my next question, what was the moment that made you want to become an MC?
I don't know if it was a moment, man. I think that more than hip hop, I was a big fan of Gordon Parks. And Gordon Parks was this dude to me where he just casually just did all this artistic shit, right? Like he was known as a photographer, but then he wrote a book that's in the Library of Congress as one of the classics of all time. Then he composed music. Then he's like the first Black director with Learning Tree. Then he directs the first blaxploitation movie in Shaft. And it's like, it never felt like, you know how people say staying in lane, like he was just a professional artist. Like he was just somebody that just like was into all those type of things. And I just felt like, you know, hip hop was just one of those things that just naturally kind of just came to me. So you just get to the point where you're writing your little lyrics and you're doing a double tape where if like at the end of a song, if they got a little bit of a beat left where they don't say nothing, you kind of like loop it and then you start writing your own shit to it and trying to record. And what changed everything is was a 4-track. You get somebody with a 4-track, or you get your own little 4-track, and you start learning to record your lyrics on top of it. Then, you know, I started making tapes and selling them in school. You know what I mean? I'm like 14 years old, selling tapes, going to Kinko's with covers and shit like that, and making real money. I mean, real money for me. You know what I mean? But like, you know, I'm selling like 100, 200 tapes out of, you know,
for real,
recording this shit in my parents' house. Like so it was a big deal. And then, you know, I wrote this column for the Free Times celebrating the 50 years of hip hop, and it was an article about like my involvement in South Carolina hip hop. And one of the things that happened was like I was a journalist early on, and there used to be this WUSC, the Gamecocks radio station. There used to be a hip hop show called For Heads Only, and it used to be a guy named CeeLo and a guy named Peabody. And I used to call in with hip hop news because I used to have like a newspaper. I would like find rappers and talk to them and write about it, and they would let me call in, and they used to have a freestyle session where people could call in and rap over the phone on the radio.
Yeah.
And they were just impressed. Like I was just this young kid doing it. And it was like, that was like the motivation I needed. And I'm like, you know, first time I hit the stage to perform, I was like 13, 14 years old. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was something really, really early on where it's just, I didn't think anything about it. I didn't think I was doing anything special per se. It was just something that I really wanted to do. And I think that one of the things that I think is a difficult thing growing up, and I think my parents have gotten a lot better with it now, is that Southern Black families had a hard time, or Black parents at least, had a hard time encouraging children to have a living or make a living through the arts. because they didn't see a way for that shit to work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so when you're younger, you're thinking that your parents are dissing you or not supporting you, but they're thinking they're protecting you because they didn't understand it. You know, I always joke around about like anytime you hear like an amazing actor, like the Idris Elba joke, where it's just like the first time you found out Idris Elba wasn't from Baltimore, you know, and like he starts speaking and he's like talking this British accent, you know, and the joke is always I always made this joke where it's just like people are like, you know, why are the Brits such great actors? And my theory is in London, the community respects acting just as much as you would respect a lawyer or a doctor. Like culturally, if you tell your parents that you're gonna go into acting and then be a struggling actor and go to theater, they admire it, they look up to it. It's considered a noble profession, you know. I imagine like, you know, if Southern Black families would have had that, where it's like, yo, I want to be an artist, or I want to do this, I want to do that. It'll be a totally different thing. But you know, your parents are designed to make sure that you're not struggling and suffering, and they don't know how to have those conversations. So the best way they can do it is just act like it's stupid, or act like it's not important, because they don't have the bandwidth to understand the importance of it. So, you know, this is what having a lot of years of therapy sounds like to kind of come to those conclusions. But you know, but those are like my early memories of making music and doing hip hop. It was just something that I just wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Like between making music, my brother was trying to make beats, and I'm trying to write and all that type of shit. It was just something that we just did. You know.
Tight. So talk about your first live performance. What was that like for you?
I'm at a bar that I'm too young to drink in. Was it the Elbow Room? Yeah, I think it's the Elbow Room in 5 Points. And I was doing stuff under the name Seven Moons, and Moons had a Z, and I had like a few songs, and I had like some instrumentals I was rapping over. It wasn't. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm glad there's no footage of it, because I think I did a great job, but like it was probably terrible, right? And I think that, you know, for as competitive the hip hop culture is, I think I was lucky that it was such an encouraging environment, right? Because you see a 14-year-old kid on stage rapping with motherfucking adults, right? And hip hop is this unforgiving genre. You know, it was a very encouraging situation where people like, yo, like keep that shit up. That's really dope. That's really good. You know, so for a long time, I was like a wonder kid. You know what I mean? Until you start getting older, and it's like, oh, okay, he still ain't made it yet. Fuck it. But like when you're that young, you know, by default, they're like, yo, this is impressive. So that's all. I remember it being positive, like overwhelmingly positive. But I'm glad there's no footage for me to really see how terrible I actually was.
And now your discography.
Oh Lord.
Just in the beginning, you know, as kind of blue.
Mm-hmm.
And moving on up to Francis. Let's talk about the evolution of Priest Jacobs, so to speak, as an artist.
I be honest with you, man. Like, there's a part of me that hates all of it, like except for the newer shit, right? Where it's like, kind of blues, me and a homie named Ty. Ty is the only son. And we would just, you know, we just got along. We got along after we met when we were doing this tour, call it a tour. But it's like, you know, it was a group of like rappers, a group of like performers, and we did shows like in Columbia, Charleston, maybe Atlanta, maybe Asheville, whatever. There was like a cool circuit of these like underground venues in the Southeast that would just let us do fly shit. And we would do shows. And I met Tyez, and we just got along really well. And like, you know, he was a real chill dude. Like I had locks, he had locks. You know, I'm trying to be all the stereotypical hotep shit. You know what I'm saying? Like every stereotype, I had it. Like I had the what was the oil? The African musk oils, the all that shit. You just, you know. And we was just making music, and we called ourselves Kind of Blue. And it was just, you know, like, it's funny, right? Because I think we were kind of ahead of the curve with certain stuff, where what I realize now, like a lot of hip hoppers, like younger hip hoppers, they don't think about, not saying they don't think about lyrics, but they think about the environment that the music can put them in, right? They think about the vibe of it. They think about the energy of it. And I think we were doing that really early on. Like I was a huge jazz fan, like I'm a huge Miles Davis fan, all this other stuff, hence the name Kinda Blue. And we were just heavy with jazz samples and translating it to being able to have a live band play shit, man, chill, man, cool. And so we were really kind of just having fun, just doing really chill hip hop shit. Um, I don't know. Again, I don't know if I ever want to backtrack and listen to any of that shit because it was like it was we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, right? Like we were going to studios and learning on the fly, and you know, we learned stuff like how hip hoppers try to brag about going to a studio and writing a song. You ain't going to go to a studio and write a song. You need to go to a studio and record, because if you're paying $40, $30 an hour, you ain't got time to waste. You need to go in and knock it out. And we kind of just, you know, so those are kind of like the training grounds. And before that, I did a project called Sepia Tones with my homie Dose, who used to be on a hip hop group called Jazz Cats. Hence the theme of all the stuff that I always did was this really Dilla-esque jazz sampled, jazz influence type of hip hop shit. And that kind of became like a trademark for a long time. And to a certain degree, it became difficult to get out of that, right? Because it's like you do something for so long, people only assume that you're going to do certain type of music. And when you want to do other things, it makes it more difficult. But yeah, so Dose is also the producer for the Analog Project, who's probably hands down like my favorite producer of all time I ever met. Like no one knows of him. He's from North Carolina, just amazing ear, amazing sound. Like I remember one time he played me. What beat did he play me? He played me a Dilla beat. He said, "Yo, listen to this." He played a Dilla beat, and I was like, "What are you showing me? Like you're playing a Dilla instrumental?" And he's like, "Nah." He stopped and then showed how he reverse engineered. He basically recreated a Dilla beat from start to finish, right? Like from the sample to the chopping to the drums. And I just remember it just blew my mind, where it was just some Poindexter shit where I just felt like it was like he really had the ability of doing that. And he did it for fun, right? Like a lot of people would try to, you know, use Dilla's name for attention. And he was just like, this is just something to challenge myself. And I'm like, how the fuck did you like the swing, the everything, the offbeat thing, all that stuff. So Dose is probably one of my favorite producers of all time. But if we're going in chronological order, there was a solo project called Sepia Tones. There was a Kinda Blue project that we did. And then I did an album called Garveyism. And then I think after that, maybe the Analog Project. And I hadn't done anything really until the Francis record, where I really kind of just felt the most comfortable I felt making music and as an artist, right? There's other thing too, you know, local hip hop shit, and maybe this happened because I started so young. The crowd was really supportive of young people being involved in shit, but sometimes the hip hop community, by nature, the hip hop community has always been a very competitive ground, right? And so I was young, I was a kid, like I didn't have mentorship, I didn't have an older MC like showing this and this and this and that. So you kind of learn on your own. But I'm just ambitious as shit, and sometimes I think it probably could have rubbed people the wrong way because I'm in here, you know, annoying as a motherfucker showing up. Like the way that, maybe not as bad, but the way that like Common used to talk about Kanye, because Kanye used to show up in studio sessions and wanting to play beats and just being this annoying pest, you know. I could probably see myself being that person growing up, you know. But I say that to say, you know, the Francis project is probably the most comfortable I felt making a project, and quite honestly, I act like nothing exists before it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the Francis project is kind of the start of the new shit that I want to do. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Hey, and no bullshit. That's still one of my favorite albums of the year, which we're going to get into that
I
discussion
appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it.
Later on in this episode.
Yeah.
So, 2023. How has that been for you as far as like personal experiences, highlights, things of that nature?
It's been all over the place, man. Turned 40 this year, which that shit is sobering, right? Like, all right, it is sobering, but it's also like an amazing opportunity, right? Because it's like, you know, I look at it like I wrote about this a year ago when I turned 39, and I had this weird epiphany where I'm basically like, damn, Medgar Evers died at 37, and Malcolm and Martin died at 39. And I'm like, shit, these heroes I look up to, you know, I'm the older man now, right? And then so now reverse engineer and think about hip hop, right? Like Pod was like what 25? Biggie was 25. Mm-hmm. Like I have a considerable amount of time on these dudes, right? And so when you think about the people that made their mark in Black and brown culture, and some of them in such a short period of time, to be able to extend or be here this long, still relatively healthy. I can always go to the gym a little bit more, but I'm still here, still feel like, that really nice space of I'm too old to try to act like a young kid, but young enough to know what dope feels like. You know what I mean? Like that's a real nice space. And I think creatively, I think it's a perfect space to be in, right? Like making that album, knocking on 40, the Francis album, knocking on 40 is totally different than I was trying to make it turning 30, right? So 2023 kind of offered that. It offered some stuff professionally. So I work for the local PBS and NPR station here. So I'm doing like, radio commercials and TV shit, kind of like seeing video production and stuff like that. And I think that the important thing that I wanted to be able to do was artistically, you go through these stages of being a creative of work, being a producer of events and works. So now I want to have an opportunity to have like a platform for other artists, right? So if I see like a young version of me out here as a young Black creative that needs a space or the energy to be amplified, I want to be able to provide that. So this year, opening an art gallery. I'm partnering with a friend of mine who's an owner of the Bourbon Restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina, and we have an art gallery called Soul House, and it's SOULHAUS, as in the German spelling of the art movement, and the soul as in my blackity black ass, as I literally have soul written on my shirt. So it's a combination of our tastes. I wanted to have a space for a long time, highlighting and celebrating BIPOC art, BIPOC creatives. Also, I'm a huge pop art fan. I'm a huge hip hop fan, comic book fan, and kind of blending it with my partner's taste and finding a way to, what's important to me is to be a space for, there's a lot of galleries that like, they don't want to fuck with you unless you're like popular and you're known. I want to be the gallery where somebody said I had my first show there, right? I think that's just as important as having the ability to have established people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like South Carolina doesn't do a great job of nurturing and elevating talent until it goes somewhere else, gets famous, and then comes back. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that's important to me, for somebody to be able to say, like, yo, this is the first time we did something here. Because I love that, right? Like I love as even like as a DJ, right? I tell people that spin music, I'm like, you gotta either be a DJ that play top 40 music, or you got to be a DJ when somebody walk up to you and say, what the fuck is that? And that's what I think the core of what DJ should be doing, right? Yeah. That's at the core. It's like, let me put you on some shit. And somehow it got weird where, now if you go on a dance on a Friday night and you want to hear the shit that I get it. But to have the room and to curate an energy to put people on shit, that's our jobs, right? And I think that having a gallery to do that as well is be like, yo, I know y'all like these popular names and these popular artists in your community, but let me put you on some shit of this young kid killing it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's an important part. And I think 2023 gave me an opportunity for that. So on top of like my business partners, I brought my brother in too. So I want to just go and tell motherfuckers like me and my brother own an art gallery. You know what I mean? So like to me, I just think that's just some fly shit that I've always wanted to do. So yeah.
Oh, and I remember you telling me about that. Like you were in the very beginning stages of it, and to see you, excuse me, to see you see it to completion, that's awesome, man. And I'm super proud of you too, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we would have done this episode yesterday, but I had some artists coming in from Florida that wanted to contribute and put some pieces in, and I had to meet them. You know what I mean? And these pieces are crazy. I'll get you the details when it's time for us to have our opening. So we're opening November the 16th. I'm not sure when this episode is coming, but I already got my tuxedo coming and everything. Dog, I'm about to get yo, I am so ready for this shit. But yeah. So I'm really, really excited about it, man.
Tight. Yeah. So piggyback into the Francis album and the subject of favorite projects of this year. What were some of your favorite musical projects?
Shit, I have to probably look through my phone. For 2023 stuff, I think let me backtrack. What else came out? I think the way I listen to music now, I don't even think of projects as much as I think of like songs. So like I think like the new Little Brother joints that came out, the little 2-pack that they did, I think was brilliant. Even though I'm really frustrated, I didn't get a chance to go to the Made in Durham Festival.
Hey, real quick, side note. The dude that produced side A of that project, Wish Me Well, is a cat by the name of Deanna's Truth.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you some shit too in a second. Go ahead.
I met him there. He had on a Texas Rangers hat.
Oh, really?
I had on my Rangers jersey, and it was like some Spider-Man meme shit because we was literally on the front row. I was literally standing next to each other during the Zoe set.
Yeah.
And he saw my shirt, and I looked at his hat. I'm like, yo. He's like, what's the score? Because they were actually playing the Orioles while Zoe set was going on. And I was like, I told him the score. He was like, yo, they might do it this year. And then they ended up beating the Orioles. And of course, when I took the picture with Big Pooh, right before I took the picture, I had to give him shit about his Orioles losing that game. I was at first, we saw that we were both Black Rangers fans. I mean, that's like as scarce as hen's teeth. And then come to find out, he was the person that produced Wish Me Well. I was like,
yeah,
small world.
Well, I think I can say it because I think I can say it now. But like, yeah, like he literally sent me a beat today because
really,
we're working on something right now.
Wow.
Yeah. We're working on something, and the shit he sent me, nigga. So yeah, like real dope shit. Other music that came out this year, there's a group called Jungle. You listen to them?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
And I'll see you in one of their videos. They got a video called Casio from my older project, but it's the first video that I came across. The guys that make the music, they're like dance choreographers or whatever. So all their videos got like these huge dope dance scenes to them and shit. But the music is really, really dope. Outside of that, gosh, I'm trying to think of the vinyl that I bought this year. Man, I'll be honest with you. The funny thing about it is I play less music unless I'm DJing, and I find myself only listening to like sports podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, like if you calculated the amount of time that I've heard Stephen A. Smith's voice in a year, it's insane. Like it's a lot. I'm trying to think of also concerts that I went to this year, shows that I went to.
Oh yeah.
What you got?
Charlotte.
The
LL concert.
Yeah.
When you big time the shit out of me in the DMs because you saw my post of me being there. You DM me, you were like, "Yo, you here?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm here too." And then you showed me a picture of your VIP pass. Then you showed me a picture you took with Ella. I'm like, "This fucker here."
Yo, I'm gonna tell you. All right. Background story. I can't take credit for that. This is totally a Sanford Green classic. So Sanford Green, my homie, the greatest art illustrator, comic book illustrator from South Carolina, Black creative, two-time Eisner winner of his book Bitter Root, that's being turned into a movie, produced by Ryan Coogler, directed by Regina King. Sanford,
really?
hire me as your manager, dog. I know all your shit, bro. Anyways,
wow.
LL is a fan, and LL reached out for Sanford to do the posters for the first Rock the Bells Festival in New York, which, by the way, we have one of those limited prints because I think it was only 150 of them. We're going to have one in the art gallery when we open that shit up. But Sanford did the first poster for Rock the Bells the first year. Then the second year for the most recent Rock the Bells joint, Sanford did the poster for that one, and it was incredible. And he got to go out in New York. He met LL or whatever. And so basically, these people, they know how to do a favor. So Sanford didn't tell me until like the day of or the day before, where LL basically tells his management, like, yo, reach out to Sanford, have him look at the tour schedule, whichever city he wants to go to that he's closest to, let's take care of him. And
wow.
Yeah, we had all the VIP shit. Now here's the thing that was frustrating. It was funny because they made fun of me because I was taking my records with me because it was De La, it was Rakim, it was LL, it was The Roots. So I had a record for everybody because we had passes to see everyone if we wanted to. By the time the show was over, everybody, when people get on stage, they went back to their hotel room. They ain't sticking around. And LL was still there. And then we find out we could have been backstage the whole show.
Wow.
We just didn't know. We could have been backstage the entire show. We could have just been like, food. Right. But I got my bad record signed by LL. He was mad cool. And it was just I tell you, one of the things I realized I was really, really happy about. It was like, first and foremost, everybody old on stage, so that show ain't lasting until 1 o'clock in the morning. Like the moment, like we getting you out at 10:15, right? That was I thought that was really funny. But also, I just looked at the amount of Black dollars in the building, right? For that tour to be able to do what it's doing and to sell those amount of tickets, it's an indication of these hip hop fans got real jobs now. They got real money now. You know what I mean? And to be able to sustain a tour like that, I think it's incredible. And speaking of Sanford doing artwork, I think he's doing, or he probably is already doing it. The New York State of Mind, Nas and Wu-Tang tour, Sanford designed the passes for that.
Wow.
And them shits look incredible. But I'm seeing that type of a tour, the LL tour, and the amount of money these artists are making, man. The fact that these guys can sell out arenas, I want to see them make that money, right? I want to see them get their flowers and do their thing. And it's something else I noticed about that show. I don't know if I text you about this or not that night. I don't know if this has ever been documented or if anybody ever talked about it. I think Black Thought has, what do you call it? What do you call it? The memory. He has the amazing photographic memory. I think he has a photographic memory because when the LL records are going on, if LL slipped, and nobody probably noticed it, but I would notice it if LL slipped and couldn't remember. Black Thought knew it. The Rakim set, if Rakim slipped, he knew it. And it wasn't like he had to struggle. It was just like a reflex. You know what I mean? I think Black Thought has some, I think he's Rain Man. I think he has, you know what I'm saying? Like that 10-minute freestyle he did on that show, it is so effortless for him. It is terrifying, right? Yeah, the only person shit he didn't know is David Banner's, but I guess that he didn't hear it first. And Banner was wilding out.
Right.
Banner was wilding the fuck out. But
I mean, he was all in the crowd and stuff too.
Yo, and the sound people were just so irritated with him. Like, dog, man, come on, the microphones can't handle all this. They sit your ass back down. Anyways, but yeah, I think Black Thought has a photographic memory. I was reminded at LL's brilliance, where I think that like, I think when people are so good at something for so long, they go through those phases where they start off really, really great. They're the apex, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, NCI, LA, he's an actor now, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? What's that song? Accidental Racist, or all this type of shit where, you know, Charlamagne talking that shit about it, whatever. And then to see him still be able to handle a show like that, the way they did this show, where it's not like I'm going at the end, but the way that he does this and bring all these people in here, how he can control the crowd, and the fact that, let's be honest, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, he's had 4 decades of hits. And shit that I just forgot about. I'm like, holy shit. We talk about Rolling Stones and niggas like that having hits like that. And it's like, dog, LL, I'm like, it reminded me of how brilliant LL is. And the motherfucker still look 28. And it's like, it's insane, right? like it was insane.
I mean, he's 55 years old, jumping up and down. Like, did 2 different sets. Yep. Like, bro, that couldn't be. My knees would burst into flames if I did some shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of flames and LL, one of my favorite things of 2023, like one of my top 3 things, is his episode of Hot Ones.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, you owe it to yourself.
His hand starts sweating. He's like, yo, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a whole lot of that. Lot of that.
God. All right, I gotta put this on the short list of stuff I need to watch. Okay. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that show was pretty incredible. I was totally pleasantly caught off guard about that, you know.
I was too.
Yeah.
And then when I like walking to the arena and I'm seeing all these couples wearing the matching track suits and the ladies had the big gold door knocker earrings, I'm like, ooh, this might be the night right here.
Yeah,
and
man.
It delivered. Damn it, it delivered.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so actually, you know what? Since I asked you about favorite 2023 projects, I think I'll share some of mine. You know, first and foremost, Francis.
Appreciate it.
Make sure y'all check that album out.
Appreciate it.
Cohiba, I was jamming that Cohiba music, man. Cohiba music. Golly, I tell you, probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite rap album of 2023, is the Danny Brown JPEG Mafia joint project entitled "Scaring the Hoes." I love that album just because it doesn't
check it out.
Just because it doesn't sound like anything else. And JPEG is like a whole lot of like jungle / techno / electronica feel to it.
All right. That's up my alley. You'll dig that group I'm telling you about. You'll dig because it's a little bit of that, you know. Yeah.
Now that one, the Killer Mike album, Michael.
That's what I forgot to say. Killer Mike. Oh. I take Now you're opening me up. Killer Mike. I would say it's probably my favorite hip hop record of the year. I will also say this. The Nick Grant record is dope too. And Nick Grant is also from South Carolina.
Sunday Dinner.
And yes. And I have a theory. I've never heard anyone articulate this, but I heard Killer Mike saying how, and I get it. Killer Mike was saying Michael is the first time you would hear this type of working class album that kind of, you know, brings gospel elements and this stuff, blah, blah, blah. I love Killer Mike. I think he's inaccurate though, because I feel like that Killer Mike album felt like a Big Crit record. Where you look at those early Crit albums, the Everyman records, the songs about, you know, family, life, your grandmother, the community, and there's elements of gospel and soul in it. I think there needs to be, and maybe I can coin a term, but there is this type of Southern inspired hip hop record that I think should just be a new genre, right? Like I dare not put Francis under that category, even though that's probably the best way I can describe it, where it just is incredibly soulful, vulnerable Southern hip hop experience. I would say that Nick Grant, because that Nick Grant record, if you told me that Killer Mike's Michael and Nick Grant's album were done as like a continuous duo project, here's my solo version, you couldn't tell me them shits don't fit together. Right. Same way, I don't know, a bit of trivia. Same way, Outkast, Speaker Box and Love Below was supposed to be a trio project. You know, the third project that was supposed to be a response to all of that was CeeLo Green is a Love Machine. I can't remember the one that has like the clouds in the background.
Yeah.
Those 3 albums were supposed to go together.
Really?
Yeah. And so, like, you know, because I heard CeeLo talk about it, and when I listened to it, it makes sense, right? So play all those records together. Like they were supposed to be like a package trio of records going together, and it makes sense. So yeah. So I think Michael was my shit. I really like the latest Nas record, even though Lil Wayne murdered him on that shit.
He did.
That was just unfair.
It happens, man.
right. I'm trying to think, man. Yeah, outside of Michael, what else came out this year that you
Sky Zoo, Mind of a Saint.
Yes.
Love that album, which I'll admit I've never seen Snowfall, but
he make you want to watch it.
Yeah, and he gives enough reference points to where I'm understanding the premise and the what the show is all about.
Yeah.
That's another rap album I've been playing the hell out of is you familiar with Elevator J?
Yes.
His latest project, Cradle to the Clay. I love that damn album.
I need to check this out.
Love it.
Also, you know, and I don't know if, you know, then you got your usual stuff like the Rock Marciano stuff, you know, the Alchemist stuff that he's doing. Like, I think I love him, but I think at some point in time, I think it's the no drum beat shit. I think that's gonna, like, people gonna get sick of that for it, you know, very soon. Because I think that there's some people that do it extremely well, and I think some people are just using it that are uninspired. But that's kind of my go-to. So like a lot of that, you know, Griselda shit. You know, I'll be at work listening to the most murderous drug music in my ears. You know, just smiling at people like, oh, okay, you know. You know, but outside of that, you know, a lot of podcasts, a lot of older shit. Like I think one of the issues that I want to be able to do that was really great with like the 50 years of hip hop is that it will remind me of old projects that were classic albums that I need to go back to. So it's like, you know, going back to Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted and stuff like that. Like I'll find like a project that I ain't listened to in a long time and revisit it. You know what I mean? So like this year with the 50-year anniversary made me kind of like go in and find older records and just give them a chance. Like, you know, one of my hip hop moments of the year, I went to go see Diggable Planets and got my record signed, you know. And
where'd you see them perform?
They were in Asheville, North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah. And check it out. It was a 30-year anniversary of the Reaching album, their first record. Mm-hmm. And they played the whole album through. And of course, they played a couple of Blowout Cone records. And I'm up front holding my Blowout Cone record. And Doodlebug is like, yo, I had my marker. He took my shit on stage and everybody signed it. Like, I was like, wow. So, but sort of like the LL thing, for that Reaching album to be 30 years old and Blowout Cone was about to be 30 years old, and them shit still sound as vibrant and as beautiful as ever. I want us to acknowledge that these young Black creatives are making fly, timeless shit. You know what I mean? Like, you can listen to these records now. Like, if I've never heard Blowout Cone and people came to me with the instrumentals, me in 2023 would want to write to every single one of those joints. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I judge it. It's not like the early days of hip hop when somebody's making, ain't nobody about to write to the beats go out and the beats come out a night beat. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? And that's not an insult by no means. You know what I'm saying? It's just acknowledging the progression. But like, you know, in the 90s, the early 90s, when hip hop was hitting that stride, you know, which I'm gonna go on a slight small tangent.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in I was gonna say, I'm disappointed in Russell Simmons a bit. I ain't gonna go into his allegation situation. My disappointment in Russell Simmons is different. Miles Davis, my favorite musician of all time. He didn't understand hip hop, but he's trying to figure it out. Quincy Jones is the same way. Quincy Jones didn't really understand hip hop. He was trying to figure it out. And so he goes to Russell and it's like, yo, I need some hip hop motherfuckers. And by no means I'm not insulting this amazing producer, but Russell gives him Easy Mo B, and they worked on the Doo-Wop album. And I love Miles Davis, and shout out to my homie that worked on that project. He's literally singing in that video. He's from here, or he lives here. It wasn't my favorite thing. I'd be nice and say it like that. I say it because I wish I could hear Miles work with the producers that were really, really doing amazing jazz hip hop hybrid shit. I mean, even if you listen to Low End Theory, Q-Tip had Ron Carter on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so in my mind, I'm thinking of like, wow, what if Miles was able to work with a Q-Tip or able to work with Butterfly from Diggable Planets? Because Butterfly's dad was a jazz musician. So all of those samples on Blowout Comb and Reaching are all deep jazz cuts. So I say that to say, not to throw anybody in the bus. I wish when Quincy was working on his Back on the Block project, when he was trying to work with these hip hop producers, I wish somebody would have put it in his ear. Hey man, you need to fuck with Pete Rock. Hey man, you need to fuck. You know what I'm saying? So you know, you listen to Back on the Block, which won a Grammy back in the early 90s or late 80s. It does not hold up. It sounds like an old person's way of trying to understand hip hop, but it did not age well. So yeah, that's my nice way of saying it. So that's my little small tangent. Where I just wish Miles was able to fuck with Diggable Planets motherfuckers and able to fuck with, you know, Pete Rock or Primo, a Q-Tip, because Q-Tip is just a natural jazz dude. You know what I mean? The same way I wish Mahalia Jackson was able to do an R&B album. Like I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just have like weird shit in my mind. I'm like, damn, could you imagine if on the way out, Mahalia just like, you know what? I still want to do one secular record. And that voice singing some soul shit. Mahalia Jackson did on a soul record. Like, I just think shit like that. It just sounds amazing to me. But anyways, I digress.
100%. Dog, and for the longest time, I thought she was Michael Jackson's mom. I ain't even gonna lie to you. No bullshit. So now we're going to get into the 5-question segment. And since you already did a 5-question segment on the previous episode, the first question is going to be different. So we're throwing a school lunch question out. So question number 1, what's your favorite pie?
Oh, all right. So, of course, the old school way of me would say sweet potato pie, but I'm going to tell you a pie that I came up. Okay, pecan pie is probably my favorite, but something I came across recently that I was really pleasantly surprised. I never had a key lime pie until recently.
Welcome to the cult.
Yo,
and welcome to the cult.
Shit was incredible.
Yes.
There's a butcher shop up the street from me. And they do fly shit. They do fly desserts every once in a while. And I had a key lime pie. And I was like, I don't know. Let me try it. When I tell you that shit was bussin', I was thoroughly impressed because like my family never bought it. You know what I'm saying? So like, so I just never paid attention to it. Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. So you know, I don't know if it's going to be the top one forever, but if I'm in a situation where there's a pecan pie, a sweet potato pie, and a key lime pie, I'm gonna get a key lime pie.
Same here. My mom put me on game when I was real young. She used to every Sunday she would have a different pie, and one day she had the key lime pie to go after Sunday dinner, and I hadn't looked back since.
Oh, that I'm telling you, it was funny, man, because I'm a grown ass man. There's very rare things that I haven't had before, and to like this being my first time in my late 30s at the time, I was that shit hit me. I was like, yo, what else was I lied to about? Yeah, I'm telling you. Matter of fact, you gonna make me make sure that there's a key lime pie for Thanksgiving. I'm gonna make sure.
There you go.
Yo, because that shit was jamming. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Question number 2. What's a hip hop song that everybody loves that you just never cared for?
I guess the way to answer this, I care for this record, but if I never hear it again, I'm cool. When I was working in radio, they played In the Club by 50 Cent so many times. I like they played it so much that if you listen to the radio on the way to go to Target, you play the radio in the club, come on, you turn your car off, go into Target for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, get back in your car to go, you're turning on, it's coming on again. That was Get Rich or Die Trying. I don't think I've ever seen a hip-hop record do that. Like, maybe the Carter 3 did numbers similar to that, but the way, I give you quick sidebar. Here's my 50 Cent story. I have 2 50 Cent stories when I technically met 50 Cent, but that's a whole different story that doesn't matter. I had a show where kind of blue show at USC, and we were opening for Field Mob.
Wow.
And this is when they were going, they had a couple of records, everything was looking pretty good, had good attention, whatever. Anyways, we were in a situation where we were in a Russell House, and we were told to go on at a certain time, and we were trying to wait it out for Field Mob. And it was one of those things where I learned early on to not listen to promoters in a way, because promoters to be like, yo, we want y'all to perform for an hour. And my thing is, these motherfuckers are here to hear Field Mob, not jazzy hip hop niggas. If we try to go 45 minutes to an hour, we're gonna do too much. So
they're gonna start throwing tomatoes.
Right? Let's do 20 minutes. Because I feel like we can do a strong 20 minutes. Don't overstay our welcome. People can say we want more, but if we go for an hour, it's going to be too long. And I was absolutely right. We go for our 15, 20 minutes. It was great. It's fantastic. The reason why this guy wanted us to go longer is because Field Mob was like, I don't think they were in town yet, or they were acting up, or they were drunk. I don't know. I heard somebody saying in the back, yo, Field Mob ain't coming. And the crowd is getting restless. Didn't know what to do. Get Rich or Die Trying, it just came out. All the DJ did, I shit you not, the beginning of Get Rich or Die Trying, where the 2 coins hit the table, everybody, oh! When I tell you that crowd knew every fucking word to every fucking song.
Wow.
This isn't the days of iTunes. I have no fucking clue. The record just came out. I have never seen something like that in my life. I don't think that shit will ever happen. I'm telling you, that nigga played every record off the album until it was time for Field Mob to come. And I left by the time Field Mob got there. We were told that Field Mob showed up drunk. they had a CD with the beats on it. The CD was skipping.
Oh,
They were yelling at the sound man, turn it to the next song, motherfucker. And it was a bad situation. But yeah. Like, so 50 was kind of a victim of his own success in a way, because In the Club is probably the biggest record that I have to play when I DJ shows and shit like that. But like, if I never ever hear it again, I'm good. Yeah.
word. And what makes it even wilder is the fact that this was also during the height of the ringtone era. So that song was inescapable, bro.
Oh, look, I'm gonna tell you something else. I don't know if I can blame 50 for this, but I can't think of it before 50. I don't think all the hip hop albums I love prior to Get Rich or Die Trying, like, I can talk about Raekwon, Cuban Links, I can talk about Illmatic, I can talk about Reasonable Doubt, I can talk about any of these great fucking albums that we love. I never heard anybody talk about the record sales.
Good point.
To this day, Jay-Z will laugh about Reasonable Doubt did like 20,000 copies the first week. Like, he says it was a failure, it was a flop. That's how he describes it, right? Nobody cared. Hip hop culture never cared. After Get Rich or Die Trying, that was the first time I started hearing rap albums talk about first week numbers. And it created this whole thing where now it's like, oh, he did $1 million his first week. How many are you gonna do for it? Like, when you heard numbers, you might have heard it for a Michael Jackson album, and we still didn't care, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think 50 added something where everything became about the numbers. Like, remember that Kanye versus 50 shit, where it's like, who's gonna sell more? Like, it was a weird situation with hip hop. Like as big as 50's reign was, there's a lot of stuff that I wish didn't happen. Like G Unit and all the aftermath shit. They had a grip on this shit for a minute. Some of it was fun, and some of it was just like, I don't want to go back to those times. But yeah. But that's something about seeing how people talk about hip hop now. If you go to like Academics' Instagram, or I'm sorry, Twitter page or X page, he's always like, oh, such and such is going to do this much this week. Or first thing he do when he get mad at a rapper, he'll talk about how many units they sold their first week. And it's like, man, when did that happen? Right? I never gave a fuck about that. Matter of fact, it was the opposite. It was like the albums we love didn't sell shit. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's a little gripe that I don't know if I can blame 50 for that, but I don't remember anybody talking that shit before 50 came around.
All salient points. Question number 3. When's the last time you cried?
I would say today, but it's probably yesterday. Like, I'm every light-skinned stereotype. It was recent. It was my grandmother's birthday is Halloween. And so, like, and she passed away in 2017. So it was like, I go to that. Like and I'm real, like, honest and vulnerable about all that shit. Like, so I don't think anything's wrong with it. But yeah, like, I know I can't remember exactly the last time I cried, but I know next time I'm gonna cry is probably when this gallery opened up. I think as soon as I start seeing that shit and get some of that Uncle Nearest bourbon in me, I'm gonna be like,
waterworks.
So yeah. So I think that I think I want to, my goal is to normalize it, make sure that it's not frowned upon or issue, because the opposite is not fun, right? Like, I don't want to hold shit in and get a heart attack because of the stress and hypertension, or blow up and get angry and pissed off on somebody I love. Like, I feel like it's just something that, like, so I say people sometimes your soul needs to take a shit, right? And crying is like a part of that. So, like, yeah, I don't think anything's wrong with it. So yeah, so it was I would probably say Halloween, which was probably a week ago, but it was probably more recent than that. Now it's kind of fun. Like, I'll have moments and I'd be surprised I didn't cry, right? Like, I was having a talk with my supervisor today, and I was talking about um, I was telling her about how, the anxiety with my job, that shit got me on medication, right? And I had this weird epiphany about it where I'm like, damn, the pandemic was really, really, really rough. And everything was shut down. Like my streams of income were compromised heavily because I wrote for a publication and people weren't sponsoring or advertising the publications because businesses were shut down. I work at a record store. The record store was shut down. I was a DJ. Who the fuck is hiring a DJ during the pandemic? So there was like all these like streams of income were at a holding pattern. And so it was like, damn, so much depression. Couldn't get a haircut for over a year. So I'm looking in the mirror, feeling ugly, eating nothing but carbs, gaining all this weight. As dark and as depressing as that was, I didn't feel the need to be like, yo, I need to get on something. And being in a work environment where theoretically, like, oh, you're making money, you got insurance now, you got a new car, that made me get on medication. And in a weird way, it was like, damn, I'm more depressed now than I was during the pandemic, right? And so having that conversation and bringing that up and talking about it and put it in perspective, I was surprised I wasn't crying. I was like, oh shit, maybe the drugs are working, But it was like, it became one of those things where it was like, every once in a while, you have to kind of like do a self-inventory and be like, hi, what the fuck is going on, And you find yourself being like, damn, there's stuff during the pandemic that I miss. There was a camaraderie. There was I used to get I got into my postcards thing where I was just mailing homies postcards and saying, what up? And this and this and that, FaceTiming homies and shit like that. And it was like, I'm like, how did this shit just disappear? Right. And I get it. Like there was like this global shared struggle that we were going through and a shared understanding. But if we don't figure out ways to kind of keep the traditions of the things that worked well and went well while we were going through this stuff, I think we missed a terrible opportunity. But yeah. But having that conversation of like being like, damn, I didn't even take any medication during this shit, and now I am taking it. Like that can be a depressing situation, but so crying helps.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because one of my early episodes, I get into talking about that. Like the last time I saw my grandmother alive, and then after leaving the hospice care place, and I had a real like heavy like Cameron Killer Season sobbing cry.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the name of the episode is "Ain't No Shame in That." Y'all go back and check that out because just like Preach said, it ain't good to hold that shit in because it's just going to cause problems, like mentally and physically.
Absolutely.
So, question 3B to lighten the mood. What's your favorite verse on Reservoir Dogs?
Let's see who's all on it. We got X. We got
no, X is Chic, Beans,
we got Jada,
Styles, and Sauce Money and Hove.
I thought X was on Reservoir Dogs. What am I confusing? I thought X was on it too. Okay. I would probably say Beans. I think I have like an affinity for Beans, and I feel like I'm an Eagles fan. So there's sometimes it's like my Philly shit that kind of comes out of it. I feel like he was one of those people. It's very rare. I remember the first time I heard somebody on a record, and the first time I heard Beans was on Adrenaline.
Yeah,
and I became like the biggest fan of Beans like after that, right? Like I'm gonna tell you, I'm heartbroken about his voice.
Me too.
Me too. My God. I'm heartbroken about his voice. And he's one of those people, two things I'm gonna say. He's one of those people that I think could benefit from AI.
That's it. That's the same exact, literally the same exact thing he said.
Oh, word. Okay, cool. Number 2, he'll be a perfect candidate for ghostwriting.
Yep.
If people want those type of lyrics. Side note, you know who else is supposed to be on Adrenaline? It's gonna break your heart.
It was Pun, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because Black Thought and Pun did a trade because was it Super
Super
Lyrical?
lyrical.
Yeah. Pun was like Black Thought was his favorite rapper. And they didn't charge. They were just doing a trade. And Pun was supposed to get on Adrenaline and didn't make it. So yeah. So I know it's sacrilegious to go against Hove. I think everybody's gonna say Hove. So I think Early Beans was a monstrous dude.
100%.
Yeah.
And speaking of beans, this actually ties into question number 4.
All right.
Who is your least favorite Eagles player ever?
Let me think. I would probably say I'll be nice about it because he got us to a good place. I would probably say, because I just saw his name pop up again today. I think Carson Wentz would have fucked us up completely. If and I say that to say like that our Super Bowl that we won, Carson's like season was great. It got us there. I didn't think we was gonna win that Super Bowl. Nick Foles got us through. There's no way you could have told me that Nick Foles was gonna beat Tom Brady. But based on what I hear of him as like a locker room person and how he was just driving the team crazy, and for the ownership of the Eagles to be like, I mean, think about this. Doug Peterson was a Super Bowl winning coach when we got rid of him, right? And Nick Sirianni, like when I heard that press conference, I thought we were going to lose every single fucking game. But I say all that to say, like, Carson Wentz, I'm annoyed, not at him, but I'm annoyed at the NFL is still a good boy network where if you're a big white kid, regardless of what you look like previous seasons and how many times you prove yourself to not be good, someone's gonna still give you a chance.
Yep.
He just signed with the Rams today.
Carson Wentz?
Yes.
Wow.
The Rams. And I get frustrated with that because you will see these guys getting these retreads and all over again because they're like, oh well, you know, some coaches like, well, we can win with that, you know, like this who was the guy with Denver who was the backup for Peyton Manning? They used to do that shit with. What was his name? He was like a 6'7".
Paxton Lynch.
Was that him? See, he was like a tall motherfucker.
Oh, wait. It wasn't Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch was 6'7". Oh God, his name was on the tip of my tongue too.
What's his name?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Osweiler?
Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a 6'7" dude, big dude, and he kept getting a job. Kept getting a job, right? And this is kind of like plays into my Kaepernick thing, where I'm basically like, yo, like the Jets were looking like shit. And all these other teams looking like really? Like Cap has probably been so far removed now. But I see what Carson Wentz could have done if my team would have held on to him. And it would have made me hate my squad. So seeing what he could have done makes me really, really dislike that. And plus, who's my homie that used to drop passes all the time? Oh my gosh. That we had to get rid of him. Oh my gosh. Remember that guy in the news? There was some guy in the news that made fun of him. Who's the guy that, oh my gosh. I'll figure out the name. But yeah.
Was it Nelson Aguilar?
I think it was Aguilar. Yep. Used to drop passes like a motherfucker. And I tell you this, T.O. be wilding out. T.O. says crazy shit. But T.O., what he said about Donovan McNabb about that Super Bowl, he was right.
Listen to me now, believe me later on.
In the future. He was just like, yo, he was cussing McNabb out on the bench. And And T.O. said that if Brett Favre was our quarterback, we would have won the Super Bowl, right? And I feel like here's what I felt like with Donovan McNabb. And this is a testament to Andy Reid. Andy Reid is an amazing coach. He proved he was an amazing coach. It was like every year we went to NFC Championship game. I never felt like McNabb cared. Like McNabb was like Carmelo Anthony in football. Like, we gonna get to the playoffs. I'm good. I'm all right. All right. Like it didn't seem like it would bother him that they never won. And us losing that Super Bowl made me sick because that team was better than the Patriots that year. So yeah. Yeah. And favorite Eagle of all time is probably either Reggie White or Randall Cunningham. So yeah.
Can't go wrong with either one of them.
Yeah.
Question number 5. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Let me think. That's a good question. To not feel stupid. Like I laugh at myself all the time because I think I'm fucking hilarious. But I have a habit of just like doing stupid voices all the time. So like I'll wake up and just narrate like I'm Morgan Freeman all day long, or just I'll just do dumb shit. I'm trying to think. Was I watching something recently? I tell you, it makes me laugh every week. My family Uno games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all still do the Uno games on Sundays?
We've been doing it more than 2 years straight. And I'm gonna break a bit of news. I'm gonna break a bit of news. All right.
Exclusive.
My parents are gonna see this, so it's fine. So we have this habit. There's a theory in psychology. It's called it's like a love translation thing, right? So like it only works when the two parties agree on it, right? So it's like you have some couples, instead of saying I love you, they'll be like, hey idiot, hey dummy. That's their translation of saying I love you, right? So early on in the Uno games, we first started playing like a couple of years ago. I think I was losing to something, and somehow, some way, I pull out my Uncle Ruckus voice. And I just started calling everybody at the table all these black racial slurs, right? So everybody's a coon, everybody's a spear chucker, all this other stuff, right? Somehow this is caught on with my family. And so the funniest shit, my mom would text us and she'll text me and be like, hey coon number 1, coon number 2, when she's talking to my brother or whatever. So imagine I'm driving in my car and when I get a text message, you got the option of pressing play and it reads it in an automated voice, right? So I'm driving. It's like, oh, I got a text message from mom. And it says, all right. So my dad's been going to church every Sunday. My mom hasn't been going because she's been like a little insecure about like her hair situation with the chemo stuff. And she's like, you know what? I'm get the courage. I'm going to go to church. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to get this nice hair wrap, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm driving around and it's like, message from mom. So press the button. So imagine this automated voice. It says, hey, coon. Hey, coon, this is Mom Coon. Guess who went to church with your coon daddy? It was me. See you later, spear chucker. You know what I mean? Like it was like hearing this like really pleasant robotic voice. Hey, coon, like saying all this, my nigger. Like it was the funniest shit. And so I laughed because like when I was first talking about these Uno games, like my editors at the paper, they was like, oh my gosh, we would love to hang out with you and love to like, cover it when you guys are like playing Uno. And I was like, y'all cannot the shit we be saying to each other during Uno.
This is sacred.
Dog. Yeah, but we say a lot of racist shit to each other. Like a lot of black racist shit. We don't say anything racist or any other cultures. There's a lot of niggas and spear chucker and coon caller, and it is the funniest shit in the world. Like so the first time my mom started calling us coons, I was like, that's the funniest shit. And somehow I be knowing that Uncle Ruckus and Jimmy Rebel song by heart. He's like, hey, jigaboo, nigger colored coonie, black porch monkey, brown baboony, melon muncher, chicken bone sucker. So like, this is the type of shit that I laugh at all the time. So just really, really, really inappropriate racist shit, which I think is powerful because there in this book, this guy named Damon Young has a book called What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker. And it's like full of these essays. And one of the essays is about what he would do if he was ever called nigger by a white person. And you got this, black men have this image in their mind, how they gonna do it, how they gonna fight somebody because of for their ancestors and all type of shit. And I remember I'm at like a IHOP with two of my homies, two black homies. And this white guy comes in and they're kicking him out of the restaurant. And you hear him mumbling something under his breath, and he's like, he looks at us, and he's like, nigger, nigger, nigger. And they kick him out the restaurant. And I looked at my homies, and I'm like, yo, did that man just call us niggas? And he was like, yeah. And we just bust out laughing, right? And so I think that's progress in a way, right? Because it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, fuck this guy. Like, what do you, nigga, you're getting kicked out of IHOP. Like, you totally fucked up in life, right?
Yeah.
Like, the people they let stay are awful. So if you're getting kicked out, so in a weird way, it's kind of empowering because like that shit don't bother me. Like, man, look here, crackers say what they want, just don't put your hands on me. But yeah.
There you go. If there's anything you want to plug or promote, the floor is yours.
Soul House Art Gallery opening is going to be November 16th. I would love if they follow that on the Instagram page, which is going to be Soul House SOULHAUS.art. For any artists that want to display or do some shit, please hit us up, send us a message. Follow me on all the socials under Preach Jacobs. And I will also say, check out Francis. It's on all the streaming services. So Preach Jacobs, Francis. We sold out of the vinyl early on. We got more coming, hopefully by the end of the year. So y'all can put them under the Christmas trees and all that good stuff. And yeah, that's all I got, man. I'm excited to be back. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. The pleasure was all mine. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find all the video episodes on that channel. It's at Danny Foxworth 843. Just crossed 100 subscribers. So appreciate y'all for that. And for Preaching myself, this has been another episode of Since We Last Spoke. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.